Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about the changes that have occurred with the exclusive right of sale listing agreement. First of all, when you're choosing the exclusive right of sale listing agreement, make sure you're choosing the one that says transaction broker, as you always want to be working as a transaction broker. This video is just going to be talking about the changes that occurred because of the NARS litigation. It's not a full thorough video of how to fill out the listing agreement. For a full video, see the other video under the tutorials tab, the listing agreement tutorial. So let's go to the first change, which will be shown on paragraph 3, letter C, line 37, seller expenses. This amount used to be a percentage. Now they're requiring a dollar amount to be put on here. So the MLS no longer allows commission advertisements. This cannot be in any field of the listing, not on any attachments, not on any showing comments. But seller is allowed to advertise payments that they will be paying, such as mortgage discount, other closing costs, or concessions. And this can be up to a certain amount of dollar amount that will be put on here, and that can be advertised on the MLS. Now, technically, the buyer can use those concessions to pay the buyer's broker commission. However, it cannot be advertised that it must be mandated to do so or that it can be do so. You cannot state anything about buyer's commission. But if the buyer chooses, they can use those concessions for that purpose, but you cannot mandate that to the buyer nor place any statements about that in the MLS. Let's go to the next change. We'll go straight to paragraph 8 and 9 and 10. So, paragraph 8 has always been, what is the seller willing to compensate the listing broker? This is the total commission that the seller is going to give to the listing broker. Traditionally, the listing broker would share their compensation with the buyer's broker, and they would advertise this on the MLS. However, now that the MLS is not allowing for commission agreements or advertisements, there has been a change in paragraph 10. There are two options. Option A states that the seller is authorizing the broker. Remember, when it's a capital B, we're always referring to the listing broker. So the seller is authorizing the listing broker to offer a compensation to the buyer's broker in the amount of. So this means that the listing broker is responsible for sharing their commission to the buyer's broker, and a listing broker will need to complete a separate commission agreement, separate from this listing agreement, between the listing broker and the buyer's broker, and the listing broker will be responsible for the buyer's broker commission. The second option is that the seller will be responsible for paying the buyer's broker commission, and the seller will be responsible for having a separate commission agreement between the seller and the buyer's broker. This is Starbury Realty's preferred option, option B. So now, to make it clear, if option 8A is 6% and you are splitting your commission with the buyer's broker, you would check off 10A and put in here 3%. So 3% would go to the buyer's broker and 3% would stay with you. If you check option B, that the seller is responsible to pay the buyer's broker, and the seller wants to split it evenly, 3% would go to the buyer's broker, but you have to make sure you change option 8A to 3. So the total percentage stays the same that the seller owes in commission. If for some reason you get a buyer that is unrepresented, you will become the buyer's broker. So you will still get the total 6%. That is why it's important to choose the transaction broker, because as a transaction broker, you can be a listing agent for the seller and a buyer's agent for the buyer. You don't need a separate compensation agreement for this scenario because you are representing both the listing agent and the buyer for the same transaction, and you already have this listing agreement, and you will also have the mandatory buyer's agreement that is required now for any showings and for any brokerage services that you are providing. The third option, option C, is that no compensation will be offered to the buyer's broker. So just because the seller is saying right now, for example, I'm only offering 3% to the listing agent and I'm not offering anything else. I'm going to select here no compensation to be offered to the buyer's broker. That doesn't mean that that's a hard stop. Once you receive offers, you're still open to negotiation and the seller can always change their mind and offer to compensate the buyer's broker. And in additional terms, if the seller wants a different type of a provision, you can add that in the additional terms. But please make sure to consult with Starbay Realty first to make sure that we are in compliance with the new regulations and rules before we add additional terms to here. Thank you and have a great day.